And down at the bottom right-hand corner of the map, Ohana, we have our red Terran player from the team Empire. It is Kas. And his opponent here in the top left-hand corner from TT Esports, it's White Raw.
I wish I spoke Ukrainian.
I only speak English and a little bit of German.
Yeah.
Es tut mir leid.
So yeah, White Raw was in pretty good shape last game, but just very, very good move by Kost there in order to very much disrupt what White Raw was doing. Did a lot of damage without taking any kind of repercussions. After White Raw had a pretty good trade early on in the game. We'll see if he's able to replicate his start. We'll see if Kost has a little bit of improvement on his start, because that bunker misplacement was a really, really bad misplay by Kost, and White Raw punished him for it.
Yep.
But it didn't really cost him in the end because he was able to make up for it with that drop.
Okay, so now we find ourselves on Ohana, though, and this is kind of a cool matchup for a PvT. You usually see this for TVZs or ZVPs. But not usually for this matchup, which I actually think it's one of the better ones for, because you have a lot of opportunity to stage up and sneak drops in around the side, whether you're a Protoss or you're a Terran player. There's a lot of room in the middle of the map that you have to manage very carefully with positioning and Vikings. It's not like you can just hide them over huge cliffs. You have a couple of spaces that you can utilize, but it's not like you have this big bank or chasm that you can watch out for. So late game tends to be pretty cool. Yeah,
Entomb Valley is generally what Protoss choose for this matchup. It looks like he is going to go for a 16 Nexus. So Nexus first once again for White Raw. But yeah, this map is great again for that 3-base Protoss that you like to get against Terran when they can get to that Blink Stalker 2-2 or 3-3 Colossus army with a few Templar mixed in. Very, very good for doing that. Maybe even better than Entomb Valley against Terran. And like you said, there really isn't that, like on Daybreak, for example, where Vikings can just hang over space where you can't get to them to knock them down. There's nothing like that on this map, and there's also a lot of different places where you can, you know, force field off. There's a lot of natural choke points, and even the middle of the map is not really that wide. You can force field that off pretty well as well.
Well, Kas is once again going to have a 1-Rax Gasless Fast Expand against the Nexus first, and White Raw was able to build himself a bit of an advantage with this last time, but wasn't really able to drive it home. Kas, with a very nice series of drops, was able to actually make his way back into it. White Raw defended the first one, but then 2 more medevacs joined, and the second one picked off. I think there were 9 units canceled by the pylons disappearing.
Yeah. And the 2 Colossus that he killed, that's massive, 600, 400 resources. Looks like Kas, he is going for possibly Banshees, because White Raw didn't actually get to see the gases, which could be a little devastating, because it looked a lot like a 1-Rax expand, except for the fact that you would have been able to see the gas. And actually Kas just in the open doing a bunker this time, and White Raw does have Zealot there to deal with this, so this probably isn't going to do too much damage, but he does have to make sure he kills the SCV.
Oh, it's down to just 1 hit, but now there are 5 probes pulled off the line, and it looks like these Marines are going to back up. They should start swiping away at a couple of these at the very least. The SCV is not cleaned up yet, and we'll get a pretty good scout. No! White Raw stopping that.
Nice. Yeah, that's actually pretty clutch that he can stop that information. But it looks like Kas actually is going for at least Banshees. I don't think it's Cloak Banshee because he only has 1 refinery. So it's just going to be a Hellion Banshee opening. Maybe actually could just be medevac Hellions. Could be, which can do a lot of damage against a Protoss that is fast expanded, because they don't have that many Stalkers to deal with it just yet when it comes out.
Yep.
And yeah, there it is.
Okay, medevac coming up, so it looks like it could be a multiple Hellion drop, as all the units are getting staged up outside of the natural. Could even be that Marine ferry, and then the Hellion, since they're so fast anyway, will just kind of charge in from behind.
And oh god, White Raw is going to be so disappointed when he gets up this ramp and he sees, yeah, it is not a 1-Rax expand. That's a lot of units.
That's right, and doesn't pick up on that expansion yet, but now he has to prepare for a drop, but he has the time to do so. Hopefully this stalker stays at home.
He does have 2 more gateways building to defend, but he only has 2 stalkers against, what is that, 6 Marines? Or 7 Marines?
7 Marines and 2 Hellions.
3 Hellions, and looks like a 8th Marine. So, yeah, it looks like he's probably going to load up the Marines, drop the Marines in the main, and then send the Hellions up the front of the base, because there aren't any force fields yet.
And it looks like this probe is just going to get back just in time to see nothing. I don't think he saw the medevac because he didn't have possession.
But this probe does see it. Wow, that's incredibly fortunate for White Raw.
Good job, and he moves his units back in position.
Yeah, that's very, very smart. So now he sees it. Oh, let's see if he can get the medevac.
No,
it gets it to half.
Koss gets away with it. He does have the 3 Hellions here, but there's not a lot for them to kill.
But now, good diversionary tactic. Now he actually has the medevac that gets in. They don't have stim, but 8 Marines with a medevac is quite a bit of damage. He needs to figure out a way to get that medevac down.
Yeah, bye-bye Stalker number 1. Nice job to stop the Hellions up at the front, and 2 Hellions die. And Koss is going to get out of there without doing too much damage, and now is actually set back a little bit in workers. His opponent is already 4 up and has another couple of rounds that he can stretch that lead by just a little bit.
Yeah, so pretty good defense by White Raw for a very scary build, but it looks like Koss, meanwhile, has gone for that early 3rd CC. Now back-to-back. He has to be careful, though, because White Raw, if he decides, could go for some kind of a timing push here since he doesn't have a lot, and he does. Pushing up, there's not a bunker ready. He's going to kill all these Marines fairly quickly, but he does get trapped because the medevac came back. He loses a Stalker, traded about, a Hellion and 4 Marines for a Stalker. Not the worst trade in the world.
Yeah, as we can see, White Raw's about 175 resources ahead in terms of resources lost, so it's good for him to be there. And back on his side of the map, does indeed have 38 workers to his opponent's 30, so he's stretching that worker lead nicely. He needs that because of the amount of mules that are out there. That helps to even up the mineral income.
Yeah, and you see, going for that double forge once again. I like the heavy upgrade style of Protoss. It's fallen off a little bit because of the diversity of Terran build, but still very, very good build overall. He'll really have to get to a 3rd base this game, I feel like, though. I really don't think he wants to try to stay on 2 base, especially once he figures out that Koss has actually gone up to a quick 3 base.
4-gate robo now for White Raw, as he'll keep those units offensively for a while. Koss now able to chug ahead with workers, and he will start to narrow that gap a bit as he's building his workers 3 at a time and dropping down 3 mules at a time.
Yeah, the mules really make up for that mineral income. Yeah, he's actually ahead in income right now because of the mules. And that'll keep going for quite some time until White Raw manages to get up to a 3rd base, and then there's a little bit of diminishing returns on how much the mules can get you ahead once the Protoss gets up to like 70, 80 probes.
Right.
In the meantime, though, this is a pretty good window for Koss because it's right before the Colossus can come out, and this is where White Raw's going to need some very, very good force fields in order to hold this off.
And Koss, is he thinking about going through? Oh, he's going to see that this is open, and there is an opportunity for him to run through. With no stim, though, it's going to be a little bit tougher. And, yeah, it looks like White Raw does pick up on this. So he has his unit shifted in position.
He needs to be very careful there because a few well-timed force fields will either force him to pick up with the medevacs, or he could just lose the whole army. So, yeah, it looks like Koss actually is going to back out. Maybe wait until that Stim Pack and Combat Shield finish, and he actually does just start his +1, but he's going to be significantly behind White Raw on upgrades because of the double forge, and he only has 1. Oh no, he does have double engineering base. Yeah. He's not going to be that far behind, but with Chrono Boost on the upgrades, he will be a little bit behind on that.
Yeah, he certainly will be, but you know, both players have stabilized nicely. Although with the 3rd base up for Koss, it's a huge benefit to him.
Yes.
White Raw is light years behind on getting another base up, and that could come back to hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, he really needs to get that 3rd Nexus up very soon. The Colossus will help him a little bit. He is even in workers, though, now you can see, and now he's a base behind as well, plus the mules. He's going to be falling further and further behind in economy. Did you see if White Raw put a Twilight Council? Because he is finishing his 1-1, and I think he might have forgotten it again. Yeah, he did. So his upgrade's not going to be quite as ahead as they could have been if he had remembered that.
Yeah, by the time the Twilight Council finishes up in another 30 seconds, these upgrades are only going to be about 30 seconds away from finishing.
Yeah, so he kind of squandered the double forge advantage that he had by going them early by forgetting Twilight Council in both these games so far. And Koss actually being pretty smart. He's actually gone a Ghost Academy. He guessed a little bit wrong in White Raw's tech choice because you'd obviously want to have Vikings first against Colossus, even though you'd eventually want Ghosts. We'll see if that helps him a lot in this, but White Raw is going up to a 3rd base finally.
Yeah, and you've seen a lot of Protoss players lately that have been building 1 Colossus, no range, trying to force Vikings out of their opponent, then going into Charge Light Archon. This isn't that. This is the 3rd Colossus, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah, and range is finished up. So Koss now moving in. He does not have 1-1 upgrades finished. He does force a cancel on the 3rd base, though. Needs to get out of there, and it looks like he will. Yeah,
and this is where White Raw, now he sees that many medevacs, and he knows Koss has a tendency to drop them. He's got to be very careful because that many medevacs dropping units in his base can do a ton of damage very quickly, especially because many of them are actually marauders.
Okay, so Koss now sitting on 63 workers, more workers than his opponent,
Oof.
and you add on mules to that, and you can see that the income is quite one-sided for now, especially the gas income is the big one to me, as looks like Koss is going to try and deny this base again, and he should be able to get it. No!
Ooh.
He gets his forces caught out in the open, a couple more shots, and he could have taken that out, but, you know, the first attempt was pretty good, but the second one, he lost quite a bit.
Very sloppy in his micro right there, and he actually going to catch wind of, ooh, he's got to be very careful. He caught wind of it with the observers. There's no blink, but he still could get a medevac.
And he will.
Yes.
One goes down with more units inside, and that resources loss is almost double now.
Yeah, White Rose doing very, very well in this game. He does need to catch up in economy, and he does need to, you know, diversify his tech pass, because now Vikings are coming out for Koss now that he knows there's Colossi.
Okay, well, that third Nexus is 2/3 of the way finished, so it's still got a while to go. Koss, though, he's got another command center on the way. He's got this very well-defended choke point, too. I really like that.
Yeah, that is very, very, very good for holding off charge lots, especially even though White Red doesn't have charge yet, but you would expect it. Ooh, I like what Koss is doing, a very quick Viking +1, so that he'll need less Vikings to kill the Colossi. He does have a lot, and White Rust still hasn't built a Templar Archives, which will be important going forward. His 2-2, however, is done. We'll see how long it takes him to go 3-3.
You talked about squandering upgrades. Actually, Koss was quite far behind putting up his own 2-2.
Yes, he was.
Took him a while to get that up there, and as such, White Rust done with, he's actually done with his 2-2 and moving up to +3 weapons already.
And getting Blink and now getting Templar Archives, very important. So White Ra, he is transitioning a little bit behind, but still ahead of Koss, because Koss does only have the 3 ghosts. He's building more ghosts now, but depending on what happens, this could be a very, very close fight at 200-200. That's not a terrible, that's not that many Vikings. It is quite a good number, but White Ra has 4 Colossus, 5 Colossus now. So that's actually going to do quite a bit of damage to Koss.
Unfortunately, no charge, but yeah, there's only 6 Vikings up, and usually want about double the amount of Vikings as you have Colossi that are out there. So that does represent a little bit of a problem now. Koss gathering up all of his forces. This Observer is actually picking up everything, and White Rat looks like he's getting himself in position to deal with this.
Ooh, nice blink. He tried to cut them off, didn't get it quite, but Koss has to be very careful. That many Colossi can shred through an army really quickly. Koss's upgrades are about to finish, though, which will help him a little bit in this next fight, but he can't wait too long, because as we see, White Ra 3-3 and charge are coming up as well, and that's going to swing things back into his favor.
White Ra's got to get a 4th going, though. It looks like, that's going to become a planetary fortress, so he needs to get his 4th up very, very soon. He can't fall behind in economy once again, because Koss is now maxed, and look at how many resources he has. And add into that, he's building 2 more command centers. He's already got a farm of barracks up, although he could stand to use a few more. He's got another starport on the way, so he's preparing for the late game here, and he's done a little bit better job of that than White Ra has.
White Ra now getting Archons, which is good, but he needs Storm. He doesn't have that quite yet, and like you said, still no 4th base. Ooh, it looks like White Ra's looking to engage right here, or at least try to pick off some Vikings.
All right, looks like he does back up. He lost his Observer. It was unfortunately just on the very edge of the scan range. Koss wasn't trying to scan for that. Oh, it looks like he's going to engage, though. There are still 5 Colossi. Actually, there were 6 going into that. One of them has fallen, but look at the amount of damage they've done to the bioforces on the ground. There are still 4 medevacs healing. A great job to actually warp in over the top. The Colossi numbers, though, are going down. This is a pretty effective job that the Vikings have done. It looks like they're all going to get cleaned up. They should be able to pick off 2 more Colossi.
Yeah, he did a great job. He needs to try to pick off the last Viking. Get the Colossus out of there, White Ra. Let's see if he manages to save the last one. It's going to be very close, and he does. So White Ra actually came out of that pretty good. He lost 4 Colossus, but he killed Koss's entire army, and he still kept a few of his own units. Yeah,
but we talked about the available bank of resources.
Yeah, and that's the issue.
Right, because now Koss is sitting on a 4th base with a ton of mules spammed onto that and an additional 10 workers. So he's got a very, very good production cycle coming towards him now, especially with all these orbital commands.
And White Ra finally going up to a 4th, but I would really like to see Storm. He is is getting his shield upgrade, which is going to help a little bit, but not that much when you have Ghost with Cloak coming out. Viking +2 is coming out, and 3/3 upgrades for Koss as well for ground units. And when Koss gets 3/3 without shield upgrades and with the EMP, Koss's ground army trades a little bit better than White Raw's can, and that's when you need that Storm, you need the Colossus, you need the AoE damage that Protoss is known for, and he just doesn't have that good a composition yet.
Now, I don't want to count out White Raw quite yet, because he still does have, he actually went up to 13 total gates. Oh, he may be able to pick up on this drop. No, okay, he's going to get out of there, but he's actually tearing after this command center. Everything's in tow.
Yeah, and Koss can't defend this. He doesn't have enough there, just the 2 medevacs, and he might actually get this orbital.
That's pretty good for him. Down to just 100 hit points. It looks like that is actually going to fall. 10 hit points and gone.
Well done by White Raw there to zone that out. I'm going to force this factory back. Not going to kill it. But he has actually restricted Koss to 4 base, even though he still has a lot of orbital commands. But White Raw's managed to catch up a little bit in economy, though not fully. But he needs to, you know, buying him some time to get the shield upgrades, get Storm, and if he wants to, you know, try to go up towards maybe even Mothership or Carriers if that's his desire. But I think he's just going to stick with Gateway Colossus. So he needs Storm and Archons, though.
Yeah, and he has, you know, he's prepared with a lot of Ghosts and he's prepared with a lot of Vikings, but it seems like there's not a ton of oomph to Koss's army, so there's still the potential for White Raw to move in and do damage. But if Koss is able to land the perfect EMPs and or hit the get the Vikings in perfect position, then he'll be fine. Oh, and the planetary goes down very quickly.
Yeah, that was very, very fast, but that's so many Vikings. The Colossus. Ooh, good blink by White Raw, though. He picked off a Viking and did some damage to another very fast and gets pretty good position. He's going to have to be very careful, though.
This is really tough to engage on this ramp, but he does manage to get out into the open. Not all of his Stalkers are engaging at the same time, though, and the EMPs are starting to splash down a few units. White Raw dishing out damage to the bio units, yes, but the rest of his Stalkers are just going to get destroyed. So he kills the base. He brings his opponent down to just 3 bases, but he loses his whole army in trade.
Yeah, he needs to rebuild very, very quickly, because while he did kill a base, you know, he didn't kill the army. He still has no Storm. He doesn't have a lot of Archons. He's not even getting gas from that base yet. He really needs to try to get more AoE units, and he needs to rebuild that gateway backbone that he just lost. He is floating a lot of minerals, though, and he does have the production to remake, so I'm a little curious why it's taking him so long to rebuild. There is a warp in of 9 zealots, so he might be able to hold this off, but those 3/3 bio forces is going to tear up those only 3/03 zealots.
Oh no, and he needs his next round of Archons, I think, before he actually engages this. Koss just has so much stuff here. There's only 1 more Viking remaining. Even the Vikings are landed, and now White Raw is down to just 92 supply, and it looks like he's about to lose his 4th base.
Yeah, he's going to give that one up. Still no Storm. He's building Colossi, but his gateway units are not trading as well. He doesn't have enough of them. He's running out of money at this point. Trying to do some harass and run-bys with the Zealots, but yeah, no Storm is really the difference in this game. If he had Storm, he would force a few more targeted EMPs. He would have some more AoE damage for all the bio, but just not really getting it done late game.
All right. Well, Koss now, he's got, well, this is really the only army to contend with here. And he still has a lot of Vikings, even if they're getting picked off extremely quickly. Looks like he'll have enough to take down the Colossus pretty quick. There it is. GG. White Raw goes down 2-0. And even though that was only 2-0, it was by far our longest set of the night.
Yeah, White Raw had some good flashes of his former greatness in that match, but just not enough to keep up with Koss. Congratulations to him. He is going to round of 8 as well. You can check out the brackets, obviously, in the live report thread to see all the different updates and who's playing who. But that is all we have for tonight as far as GSL World Championship games.
Okay, so join us again tomorrow as we have more matches. Tomorrow night's matches actually end with Vortex and Mana, which, like you said before, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Okay, well, that's going to be all for us, guys. So do have a very wonderful night. Please, again, follow our brand new YouTube page. If you do anything tonight, it should be that. Head over to youtube.com/IPL Esports and subscribe. And we appreciate you guys for following us. So have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Night, guys.